I just created this yesterday in the morning. So state the domain and range for of the following scenarios, right? So the first one here, you should notice there are arrowheads, which means it goes down indefinitely and it opens up indefinitely. So for domain, if you use a set notation, right, it would be x belongs to real numbers, and for the range, you would simply go y has to be less than or equal to, right? That's your highest point. I forget, was I using green yesterday for a range? Okay, so your range goes from there down. You can almost do like arrowhead going down. So y, all the y values that are less than or equal to 20 are acceptable in this case. Okay, that would be the set notation. If you use interval notation, this is it for domain. And for range, it would be, right, negative infinity all the way up to 20 square brackets. So if you made a mistake on your brackets, today we're going to be nice, take off half a mark. So whether you completely missed them, we'll only take off half a mark twice and on this whole page. So if you, I would indicate that every time. My error, like this is what I use when I mark your stuff. You see N, that's notation, like there's some sort of notation error. So the answer is correct, but N means you used the wrong brackets, you forgot y equals, or something like that, okay? So we have 1 mark associated with each answer. So A has 2 marks attached to it. For this graph here, for the domain, we have x belonging to all real numbers. That is given. So it's negative infinity to positive infinity like that. So that's worth a mark. And then for range, in this case, y values that are greater than or equal to negative 200 are acceptable. Okay, so that would look like that, or negative 200 to positive infinity, round bracket for infinity, square bracket for the negative 200. Okay, so again, for the range, right, if I highlight that, you go to the lowest point it ever gets, and then it goes up from there. So for range and domain, smallest first, largest second, always. Okay. All right. So 1 and 1. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. 1 and 1. So that's going to be the case for all the domain and range situations here. And then we have a word problem. Okay. You know it starts here and stops there. Okay. So for the domain, if you set notation, it would go from 0, right? And then we use t for time, and it goes to 50. Okay. Or you go 0 to 50, that's also okay, either one. So 1 mark for the domain there. For my range, set notation, you go 0 is the lowest this ever gets to. I'm using h for height. It's okay if you use x and y today. We're going to let it go because I didn't give you an equation, right? And so you get to the highest point, which is 27.3. Okay, because remember, range, you're looking at the y values. So this is 0, 27.3, square brackets on both ends, right? So 1 mark for that. You choose which format you want to use there, okay? And just be honest today, it's not going to be the last time you're going to do this, okay? We're going to really send home domain and range. You're going to dream about it. You're going to toss and turn. It's like, no, I got it wrong, right? And then finally, you're going to be a master, okay? You go from 0 all the way to 190, okay? Which would be 0 to 190 in your domain. So some of you like highlighting, right? So you go from here and you stop there, right? So it's 0x all the way to 190. Okay, that's your domain. And for the range, the highest you ever get is here, and the lowest you ever get is determined by the vertex. Okay, so this is your range. Right, so my range, in this case, would be negative 15 greater than or equal to, and I'm going to use h for height, all the way to 5. 5 is the highest y value you ever encounter in this scenario. So you can also go negative 15 to 5 like that. I will say this, okay? I know you might be disappointed with this, but if you flip this, if you have 5, negative 15, we're gonna mark it wrong today. If the order is wrong, technically you don't get the marks, okay? So 1 mark for each, right? Domain and range. So this page is worth 8. Okay? And remember, ACs are for you to learn. Today doesn't go so well. You're gonna just forget about it. Just make sure you learn from your mistakes, and then we apply that next time and get better, right? That's what it's all about. Let's go to the back side. And this is recorded too, so if you're ever bored at home, right, you just watch this and review domain and range. So here we go again. For time, 0 is it starts at 0. T for time, you go all the way to 21. So this would be 0, 21 like that. For range, we're going, what's the lowest? The lowest is 5. If you look at the y values, right, there's 5, 9, and 19.5. Those are your options. But 5 is the lowest, 19, oh, calm down there. I know it's Friday, you want to go home, right? This would be 19.5. There we go. So 5 to 19.5, like that. 1 mark for each. And number 2 actually is probably harder than you think, right? Maybe you were like, what? What's happening here? I will make 2 a bonus today. Maximum of 2. Okay, so if you get it right, you get a maximum of 2 bonus points, even though technically it should be 4. But I'll give you a maximum of 2 if you get these both right. So, domain from 0 to 50, range goes from 0 to 20. I don't know if you noticed, but you're sticking to the first quadrant here. You can just go X and Y. And I kind of think, okay, I'm going from 0 to 50 along the X. Okay, I'm making a little mark there. And then I'm going from 0 to 20, right? It's almost like you're going from 0 to 20 along your Y. So that's kind of like the box you can play within. That's really what you're saying. And we're talking parabolas. So you could go like this, get to the highest point there. Not a pretty parabola, but that's okay. That could be one. Or you could have actually started here, dropped to the ground, and then came up here. Either one is fine. So either curve meets the criteria, okay? Because you're sticking between 0 and 50. So what I would want to see is that you call this 50, or you can call this point 50, 0. And this one could be called 50, 20, or something like that. Just indicate to me that you're staying within, okay? This point would be 0, 20 here. And that's really all I would need. And if you use the vertex here, just call it something, right? 25, 50. To be quite honest, if you give me some sort of indication along the x-axis that that is your scale, then I'm fine, okay? So 1 mark, 1 bonus mark if you got that right. If you got it wrong, it's not going to affect you at all. 0 to 100, negative 2 to 5. So along the x, I'm going from 0 to 100. It's my x value. And my y, I'm going to negative 2, so you can kind of come up with a scale here. This is negative 2. And I need to go all the way up to 5. 1, 2, 3. Good thing I'm using a pencil, right? 4, 5. Okay, so that's kind of the idea here. This is 5. So that's your range. And your domain is 0 to 100, so you can go 50, 100. I'd be just fine with that. Okay, so you kind of have to start here I'm going to go to the highest there, like that. And then you can stop there. But you could also, I'm going to use a different color. You could start there, right? The same path and just come back down to -2 if you want. That's also fine. Okay. Let me use blue here. Another option would have been to start up at 5, go as low as -2, and then either stop there or continue back to 5. It doesn't matter. Regardless of how you did it, you would have stayed within these parameters. Okay? So as you can tell, it's a little, it's more than what you think, right? It's not necessarily going to give you an exact graph, but you can kind of use your imagination to fill in, because the domain and range creates a box. You can play within the box. Think of it that way. Okay? As long as it looks like a parabola. Okay? So, 1 and 1, if you got that right. If you're not sure, tell me at the front. I think I got that one, but can you check 2A or 2B or something like that? So this whole thing is worth 10, because we're not going to count this, right? So there are 2 marks on the back side technically to be had, plus the 8 on the first page. So that gives us 10, plus the bonus, of course. So you could score 12 out of 10 today.